Hello everyone, welcome back. So we have discussed three steps till now. Again, we have done how to sort out your research problem, how you should select wisely what you want to do. Then we have done the part related to setting your hypothesis, that means the assumptions and what probable outcomes you are expecting from your research work. Then the third, we have done the part related to, depending upon your aim, how to select your research design method. In research design method, we have even considered various methods: descriptive method, exploratory method. Then we have considered diagnostic method. We have gone through the hypothesis testing method. Even we have discussed the case study method. So depending upon the purpose of your research, you should classify under which category it comes, and then you finalize the steps that can be included in your research work, and further research can be conducted. Now the fourth step is what? You have finalized your topic, you have finalized what you want to do, you have set your probable outcomes, you have finalized the method that under which category you will be doing it. Now, to carry out your project work, to carry out your research work, you are in need of a particular group on which you can test. Many of the times the research work is very broad. Maybe the impact of some particular disease on the global, maybe the effect of recession on the countries, or it can be the effect of change in environmental conditions on overall countries, maybe on Earth planet itself. So now this time you can see all these three research topics are having very broader aspect of consideration. And when you want to carry out the research on such broader aspects, it is not possible to study all the uniforms. Since the scope is broader, you need to carry out your research, and that should justify the answers without the geographical boundaries or the constraints of the region. So at that time, there is another method of taking out the samples from the particular regions and then doing the testing or performing the experiments or conducting your research work on that particular set only. Another benefit of it is that whatever research you want to do, always with the research there is association of the resources. You are in need of the resource, maybe you are in need of the machinery, maybe you are in need of some supporting manpower, maybe you are in need of some materials. So all these things are finally related to the money. So whenever you want to conduct the research, and if your scope is very big, along with the broader scope there is more amount of expenses that are related to the research. So to minimize the amount of expenses, you can take out some of the samples from the universe. Universe means everything that is under the consideration of research. You take out some of the samples, and from that samples you conduct your experiments. So this process of taking out some samples out of the universe and performing the experiments, how you can take it, what are the various methods of taking out your sample test, all these things we will learn in this lecture. So this process of taking out the sample from the universe for conducting your research work over it is called as process of sampling. So we will discuss one by one, and we will move ahead for the presentation. So over here we can see that the word sampling is given, and the sampling term, as I have explained, is nothing but it is a part under the consideration from the universe to carry out your experiments or testing. It is a part of population known as sample, the method consisting of selection of for study, the portion of the universe with a view to draw conclusion about the universe or population is known as sampling. Why to do sampling? That I have already justified, but still we will take it once. If the size of the study is very large, it is not possible to carry out testing on everything, and the sampling changes infinite case into finite consideration. With increase in magnitude, the associated amount also increases, and thus it optimize and reduce the research cost. Resource consumption like manpower, tool, material, etc. are subsequently reduced because you now concentrate on only samples. The important part of the research work is time frame. It helps to maintain time schedule also. Again, this is because you have converted your infinite problem, infinite scope into finite. Now sampling procedure. Sampling procedure first consists of purpose of your survey. What is the purpose of your survey? Depending upon it, the sample can be taken from the geographical area or it can be from the gender, male, female. Measurability, specific amount to check, degree of precision. Depending upon it, the sampling procedure is conducted. Information about the population. Once you know the detail about the population, you can take the unit out of it. Population is again what? It is a broader scope of work that is related to your project work under consideration. The nature of population. Sampling procedure can be homogeneous or heterogeneous. Geographical area of the study and the size of population. Financial resources, time limitation, and economy. So on the basis of all these factors, we carry out the sampling process. Now sampling method, we will discuss one by one. First method is probability or random sampling. It is also known as non-zero chance method. It is used when generalization is objective of study and greater degree of accuracy is required. It consumes more cost and time. The various steps of random sampling is as under. Simple random. It gives equal and independent chance to all elements. Now the process is prepare the list of elements. Elements are nothing but the things which will be included in the test. Prepare the list of all elements. Number them. Then draw sample using the lottery. Once you have written the number, maybe you want to check out the intelligence level of a particular class, understanding level of a particular class. So what you will do is that you will prepare the list of students, you will give the numbers to them, and then randomly you choose it from the lottery. So when you randomly choose it, maybe manually or by computerized way, you have done the simple random procedure. So rather than testing all the students in the class, you have considered only random selection. So it is suitable for what? It is suitable for small homogeneous population. Homogeneous means that we have considered a class in example. So that particular class consists of the students of the same age group, of the same grade, and of the same probable region, and thus we say it is a homogeneous. So simple random process. Probability and the random sampling. Second method is stratified random process. Population is subdivided into homogeneous group or strata, and from each such strata random sampling is done. The method is more efficient and is useful for heterogeneous population. Three main work should be done, that is, first you should know on what basis you are grouping, how many number of groups you are sampling, and group sample size is what. It is classified as proportionate stratified and disproportionate stratified random. Again we will take a small example. If you want to do the study of, again we will take a school only. If you want to do the study, now this time you are not considering a particular class, but you are considering the performance of school overall as compared to other schools in the particular locality. So when you want to do the performance, study the performance of school as compared to other schools in the locality, first you will group the schools into subcategories. Maybe primary, maybe middle class, and then higher secondary or secondary school. So you have created three stratas now. Now out of that three stratas, you will take out some of the sample by a random sampling method. So if you take it randomly, then it is disproportionate method. But now as if you have calculated the total number out of total numbers, the number of student in primary, then the number of student in middle class, and then the number of student in higher class. If you take out the ratio of it, and then at the time of random sampling you choose that much amount of random samples similar to it in the ratio, we say it is a proportionate stratified method. Third method of the probability and the random sampling is sampling methods, as we have discussed, stratified random. Now systematic random is the third type, systematic random. What we do in this is like, again we will take a small example of class only. Suppose you have considered the student whose roll number is 1 for your experimental work, for testing the experimental test on that particular student about the amount of knowledge he has gained in the subjects. Then after roll number 1, we will skip roll number 2, roll number 3, roll number 4, and then we will concentrate on roll number 5. So it means that we have skipped 3 numbers. After choosing roll number 5, again you will concentrate on number skipping 3s. That means 6, 7 and 8 roll number will be skipped, and now you will concentrate on roll number 9. So this is a very systematic method, but you have taken it randomly. So these are the 3 methods of the random selection for sampling. Again I will repeat, sample is nothing but it is a set over which the testing or experiment is performed. Second method is cluster sampling. In this method, random selection of sampling unit of population element is done. Each such sample unit is called as cluster. From each such cluster, sample is drawn by simple or stratified random method. So what you will do is that you will make a small part of the complete population, and from all that parts you will take out some samples. So when you divide the complete population in some parts, that each part is called as cluster, and from that cluster you will take out some of the samples. From each such cluster, sample is drawn by simple or stratified random method. It is useful when the population is scattered over wide area and the list of population is hard enough to be prepared. Now it is suitable for demographic study, it is suitable for ecological study, for public opinion, for attitude, etc. I will again take a small example. Suppose there is a time of elections of maybe of the political body selection, and for the political body election it is now a common process to take the public opinions. So depending upon the geographical region, depending upon the state, depending upon the district, the opinion of people may vary. So what we will do is that we will divide a complete country into various zones. From each zone, then you randomly select some of the peoples and take their interview related to their opinion about the upcoming government. So what we have done, we have created the clusters, and from that clusters we have taken out the samples. It is not necessary that the cluster size will be same, and thus variation could increase deviation in the result. Yes, because you are not setting the cluster on the basis of the geographical region. It can be on the basis of number of people but not geographical region. So the parameters are not constant, and thus the deviation may happen. So the area sampling is one of its steps, as I have described. When you want to take out the study related to some particular say of the political opinion, we have divided the complete country into area, and then we have taken the samples out of it for study. So this is how the cluster sampling method works. Sampling method. Now this is the third method. So I guess we should stop over here and we will discuss the another method in the next lecture. So we have discussed 2 methods as if now. We have discussed very simple method which is called as random method, and then random method is further classified into 3 parts, even that we have discussed. Then we have discussed the method which is called as cluster sampling. Even we have discussed the sampling means taking out the numbers of something over which you want to perform your experiment, you want to test your hypothesis. So we will stop over here. Thank you.